We have Fox News liberal Jessica Tarlov on The Five speaking about Kamala, her differences from Biden, and the view for her administration, having to combat propaganda from her MAGA co-host every step of the way. So let's watch just a few of these and jump in with whatever needed context we can after.
Colbert was speaking to a 3-year-old. What major changes will there be? Well, I'm obviously not Joe, and that's one change. But also, I think it's important to say that with 28 days left, I'm also not Donald. Shut up and answer the question. But she can't. She still hasn't answered whether or not we're better off now than we were 4 years ago.
Yeah, she's answered this question multiple times. It's also pretty apparent that we're better off now than we were in 2020. MAGA just doesn't like how she answers the questions because she points out the shortcomings of Donald Trump and how he collapsed our economy. 4 years ago, Trump was secretly sending COVID tests to Vladimir Putin as millions of Americans were dying, and he suggested they inject bleach after downplaying the pandemic until the very last moment. I mean, our GDP fell flat, unemployment hit 15%. We experienced deflation, which is very harmful for our economy, even more so than high inflation. And these effects were worse than any other G7 country, which are the other 7 developed like countries or economically similar countries to us, where now we've had the biggest bounce back from COVID in the G7, to where our inflation is the lowest of the developed countries in the G7. Wages are higher, more jobs are being produced, and also numerous domestic successes on top of the rebound, right? Like Medicare being expanded to millions more, medicine costs like insulin being lowered, and capped, student debt being forgiven at historic rates. I would ask, where are we possibly worse now in 2024 than we were in 2020? I mean, definitely in a macroeconomic sense, it's not even close.
Just say I am so proud of the work we accomplished together. I think Joe Biden is a great patriot, but I'm a different person with different priorities. And as such, I would take the $5K deduction for starting a small business, and I'm making it $50,000. We want more small businesses. Right. Or we have a housing shortage. This is something that matters to Joe Biden, but we were so busy doing X, Y, and Z things that I'm vowing to build 3 million new housing units. Or the announcement yesterday, which is a really important one about Medicare covering in-home care, which is so important when you're taking care of aging parents. That's a good one to throw out there as well. And it was the day of that policy rollout. I think that that's something, especially because separating herself from Joe Biden is what tests the best amongst undecided voters, that you have to have a solid policy answer.
This is another weird talking point that I've heard in an attempt to shove down our throats from right-wingers that, that first off, Kamala has now somehow done everything these last 4 years, so any decision that Biden's made or that has happened can just directly be attributed to her, even though just 2 months ago it was all Biden's fault and they were all blaming Biden. But, I digress from that. This kind of point, however, that Kamala is just the same as Biden, like she's Biden 2.0 and will continue everything he's done. I would love to know what major policy proposal she has that is something that Biden was running on. She's much more economically focused, right? In terms of like taxes, housing, these kinds of things, where Biden was more about strengthening us abroad, creating jobs through infrastructure and expanding Medicare. She wants to help families with tax breaks, child tax credits. She wants to expand small businesses through tax breaks, expanding it to 50,000, expand the coverage of Medicare to include things like in-home health care to alleviate those in the sandwich generation, allow them more opportunities to work and provide economically. She wants to help workers by expanding the earned income tax credit. Since it's been difficult to pass a minimum wage hike, this is a different kind of avenue to go through. These are major differences from the things Biden was running on. I mean, addressing the housing crisis directly with the building of new family-oriented homes while penalizing investors who are trying to mass buy up our housing, payment assistance for first-time buyers, tackling grocery prices with FTC penalties on price gouging. She's not even sort of running a similar campaign to Biden. So I don't get why she's even getting these questions. So the attempt to, first of all, trying to attribute all of Biden's choices to choices that she made, which is just not how vice presidents work. And 2, then trying to say that she's just Joe Biden 2.0 is pretty nonsensical to me and falls flat on its face with the least bit of scrutiny.